If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. So all I can think about these past few days have been magic and miracles. And if you're wondering why, it's because that's exactly what we're talking about today. We're talking about creating magic every day, every way in your life. So as I've been thinking about this, there are a few things that have happened to me in my life that have been totally extraordinary and that I could not explain any other way except it was a miracle, it was magic. And I'd like to share my favorite story with you at the beginning of the show. So about, almost 13 years ago, just before I was about to move out to Utah from New York, I was looking for ways to decorate my new apartment. And I should mention that I was married at the time, newly married. I had a toddler, a baby, and a 16-year-old son, and we were moving to Sandy, Utah, to a tiny 3-bedroom apartment. Well, we did not have a dining room set, and I knew that we absolutely needed a dining room set in my mind anyway. It was absolute in my mind. And so I was over at my mother-in-law's house one day, and my husband, his mother's house, you got that, was there. And my mother-in-law graciously said, "You could have my dining room set." And that was a really, really generous offer, and I really felt grateful for the offer, but there was only one problem. I hated this dining room set. It was not my taste at all. It was huge. It was so big that it would have filled up our whole dining room, so much so that we would have had to climb over the table in order to get to the bedrooms. And plus, the cats had used it as, well, a chlorine cushion and also sometimes a litter box at times, so you get the picture. I did not want this dining room set. Well, my husband was very adamant, and he said, "Well, we don't have any money for a new dining room set, so let's just take this one, and when we get some money, we'll just, we'll sell this one and we'll get a new one." Well, I was already at that point wise enough in my life to know that we would be stuck with it for the rest of my life. And so I adamantly said, "No, I don't want it. I don't want it. I want a new set." And he said, "We don't have money for a new set." And I ended up leaving my mother-in-law's house in a little, and I got on my way, and I'm driving back to my house, and I'm thinking, I don't want that dining room set. I don't want that dining room set. I don't want that dining room set. And suddenly I heard a little voice in my mind say, "Stop focusing on what you don't want. Start focusing on what you do want." Okay, well, that was a lot more pleasant. So that's exactly what I did. I started focusing on what I did want. I wanted a brand new dining room set. And so I started picturing it, and it was beautiful. It was the perfect size for our new dining room. It was black, it was lacquer, and it had high back chairs, and it was modern, and the table was oval, and it was in beautiful, perfect condition. All I could do was focus on that. And I was driving along alone by myself in the car, and suddenly I saw a garage sale sign, which was very unusual because it was not a day that you would see garage sale signs. And I made a turn, and I was looking for the garage sale, and I never found the garage sale. It evidently was an old sign, and I got a little lost in this neighborhood. And what I saw next, I couldn't believe my eyes. It couldn't be real. The dining room set that I had just been imagining in my mind was sitting on someone's front lawn in the middle of this neighborhood. I pulled over my car, I stopped the car, I just watched for a couple of minutes before I even got out, and I watched this man take these chairs out of his garage and one by one place them around this table. It was exactly what I had envisioned. It was the exact size, it was the exact style, it was black, it was lacquer, it had high back chairs, it was oval, down to the T. It's as if I had somehow miraculously created this dining room set out of my pure imagination. So I got out of the car and I went over to the man and I said, are you selling this? And he said yes, as he put this little sign on the table that said $100. I said, you're selling this for $100? Well, I just happened to have $100 in my pocketbook, which was very rare at that time. And he said, yes. I said, I'll buy it. And he said, great. But first I have to ask you something, I said. He said, sure, what? I said, well, what made you put this dining room set out on your lawn just now? And he said to me, well, that was the strangest thing. He goes, about a year or so ago, my wife got pregnant, and we realized that this brand new dining room set that we had just bought was not appropriate for our new family. So we packed it up and we put it in the garage, and we got more of a, country type dining room set. And so this dining room set has been sitting in our garage for over a year now, and we hadn't really given much thought what to do with it. And then suddenly, just a little while ago, just really a few minutes ago, my wife said, honey, that dining room set in the garage on the lawn with a for sale sign on it to see if anybody wants it. And he said, and then you pulled up. How does something like that happen? I thought it. I imagined it. I really wanted it, and suddenly it happened. Wow. That was one of the most magical moments of my life, but not the only one by far. Today, we're going to talk about how to create that magic in every way possible and every day. My guest today is an expert on just this. He is an expert on magic and has written the best-selling Australian book, The Magician's Way. He is a metaphysical author and Australia's most successful transformational trainer. And yes, his book, The Magician's Way, recently published in the U.S. by New World Library, is a novel that reveals how one can access the higher potential that lies hidden within us all. William brings a dazzling range of knowledge and experience, from a childhood in Swaziland immersed in supernatural worldviews to hermetic philosophy and esoteric speculation on global financial markets, to bear his writings and teaching that's focused on what we really want and how to get it. Yes, the how to get it. His work is acknowledged as being at the forefront of the conscious transformation movement, helping people not only how to be aware of and focus on what they love, but most importantly, serving them in establishing a new foundation from that which can now flow. And his website is WilliamWhitecloud.com, and we'll say more about that towards the end of the call. But without further ado, William, welcome to Chai. Thanks for having Chai with me today.
Hi, Nanice. Hello to you and everyone listening all over the world. Thanks for having me. It's a real honor to be with you.
Thank you. My honor.
I love that story you told. It's just a classic example of how magic works.
So I'm sure that a lot of people ask you this all the time, so I'm just going to ask you right off the bat. So how does magic work? How does magic work?
That's a really good question, and I think that if you know a lot about magic, the honest answer is I don't know how it works.
Hence it's magic.
Magic, that's right. But if you ask me what I mean by magic, I just really think that magic is just a word really that is code for or just simply that describes the ability to access our own hidden potential. Because I think human potential is hidden. It's not just lying around on the surface. It's a resource, and like a lot of resources, you got to dig for them, and that's what magic is to me. How it works, I don't exactly know. That's a mystery, a lot of it. But how to access it, we know a lot about that.
Mm-hmm. So then, of course, the next question will be, because I know all our listeners are thinking this now, well, how do you do that? People are on the edge of their chairs taking notes. How do you access that magic? How do you create that magic?
Well, it's not a simple answer. I mean, you illustrated it very powerfully, Nanice, in your introduction when you told the story of your beautifully lacquered dining suite. For a start, you visualized what you wanted, and you were clear on that, and you visualized that, and you chose that, and then you went driving, as it were, and you had your eyes open, and you saw what you wanted, and you stopped and you acknowledged that it was what you wanted, and you took action. You got out of the car, and you went up to the guy and asked him if this dining suite was really for sale, and you got the $100 out of your wallet, and you paid for it. So, in very simple terms, in terms of attracting, magic as it's applied to attracting what you want in life. It really is as simple as that. To know, the first secret, and this is often more difficult than it can sound, but it's to know what you want, to right. Really actually know what you want is the first step. And actually, it's a big step, but we won't get into that right now. But the first step is to know what you want and acknowledge that and allow yourself to have it, to choose it for yourself, to acknowledge, admit that you want it, and put the power in that choice and that decision. And then from there to receive it, to be open to receiving that in the sense of being aware of any indications, any signs that are leading you towards having that, and seeing it when it's there, whether it's the action to take or whether it's the goods itself, whether it's the thing you want itself, to recognize and go, this is it, this is the step, or this is the thing that I want, and then to be able to take the action. To have it, to give it to yourself, and basically that's the process, and it's very a very simple process, certainly to describe. Actually living it is a little trickier.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a lot of people do get stuck on what they want. I've been coaching for over a dozen years now, and often people come to me and they want changes in their life, but they don't really know exactly what those changes look like. They just know that they're discontent, and many people actually come into a coaching relationship trying to figure out what they want. And you're right, I think that once somebody figures out what they want, then the rest becomes magical. I have written this book called Zest Point. It's not out yet, but in Zest Point I talk about the power of choice and how this is really the key to manifestation, and that the way the process looks like to me of manifesting, of creating this magic, is first we hold a thought, and the thought is, oh, I want that new car. And then we hold that thought long enough until we start, believing, oh, I believe that I can have that new car. And we hold that belief long enough until it shifts into this, like, I'm choosing that. Yes, I choose the car. And there's a sense of worthiness attached to that as well. And then after that knowing, that knowing happens. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I skipped a piece. So it's thinking, believing, knowing, like, I know that I can have that car. I just have this sense of knowing, and this is that place, like, as you feel it in your bones. And then after knowing comes choosing. So that's like, I choose that for myself. And it's in that choosing that suddenly, it's like almost like the whole world or the whole universe is communicating with you, or you're communicating with it, and everybody and everything is in agreement once you've chosen something. And then these synchronicities can happen, then this magic can happen, then miracles can happen. But nothing happens literally until that choice is made. But there's this process. believing, thinking, believing, knowing, and then finally choosing. And as you mentioned, there's inspired action often, so you have to be willing to take the action too. And when all these things come together, I believe that this is when we actually become conscious magicians in our life, and not just accidental magicians. That when I manifested that table, I considered myself at that time, even though I didn't have the words for it, to be more of an accidental magician rather than an intentional one. And I think that the key to creating the lives that we want is really becoming these intentional magicians. And I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I agree with you, Nanice. Becoming an intentional magician is really, I believe, within everyone's capacity. And really, I would go as far as to say what we actually meant to be. I mean, we have these God-given abilities, these God-given powers, you could call them, or I think it's just, intrinsic to who we are. It's just naturally who we are. And, living as a conscious, intentional magician is a brilliant experience of life. Not just because you can have things, but because it also ultimately really connects you to a soulful way of living, which is something else. But in terms of the first point that we're talking about here, which is knowing what you want, it really is so important. And I also train people and coach people, so I've had a lot of experience with this. And a lot of people come to you and their dilemma is they don't know what they are. That's one kind of category of people. But the biggest category of people is the category of people who think they know what they want, which is different to what you actually want. And now this is when you're going to start talking about real magic and applying real conscious intentional magic, because the thing is, as I see it, and my premise is just simply this, is that, look, the best way I can explain or understand it for myself about us and our nature is that, really what we are beings of pure creative spirit. We're just inherently creative. We're pure creative spirit. We're connected to everything through all time and space. I mean, that's evident in the story you told about that dining suite. You knew that existed. That's why you visualized it, because you were connected to it. That guy got to put that dining suite out on his table because somehow he was connected to your thought about having it, and he moved his dining suite out of it. You thought of it because it existed in his garage. We are connected to everything through all time and space, and that's how it works. However, to be here, to have an experience of individual existence, which I, again, as a premise, say that we're here for. We're here to enjoy existence and look back on it and have an experience of it from a subjective point of view, and have this individual experience, as I say, of existence. Now to do that, we have to create an illusion of separation, you see.
Yes.
And we come to Earth and we create this separation very successfully. And how do we do that? Well, we in the womb and our most formative years of childhood, we're looking for validation of our nature. We want to know that we belong, and that we love, and that we can be loved, and we're significant, and that we can bring who we are into the world. And there's no such thing as pure parenting or pure validation. We all get wounded in some way, and we make up stories about that wounding, and those stories ultimately amount to limited beliefs about ourselves, about the degree to which we're worthy or not worthy, or that we belong, don't belong, that we're capable or not capable. And so then we actually unconsciously make up a further story about how we incomplete, therefore, and need to complete ourselves. And so this is my point, is that a lot of what people are going for in life is just simply what they believe is going to complete them, you see. And so that affects what they believe they want. And that's different to what they authentically want. And it even corrupts us to the point where when we're going for something we authentically want, there is still a part of us that goes, yeah, well, to have that, we have to complete ourselves, you know. And we go for that instead of going directly for what we want. And then life becomes a struggle because we are not just allowing ourselves to be directly connected to what we want. And if I can give you an example, I'll use your kitchen, your dining suite as an example. Now, you see, just very simplistically, if I can just say this, but to be honest, it's truer than you will think. Is, you see, in that instance, you were accidentally connected to your power, and you went, no, this is what I want. But even say someone who's not really consciously connected to.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com. Thank you.